We're already 1/12 of the way through 2012, and I think we all know what that means. It means it's February, traditionally one of the more dire months on the movie-going calendar. January, however, was surprisingly positive in terms of box office news, so all of Hollywood is going to be keeping an eye on the films in the pipeline, hoping that they'll be able to make them some sweet, sweet moolah. We, of course, are more concerned with the quality of these films, although if you're looking for quantity, have no fear. There are over a dozen movies that are coming into wide release this month. So let's take a look at them. We're starting early on February 3rd this year with Big Miracle, hoping to nab some of those dolphin tail dollars with a real-life story of massive whales trapped in ice near Point Barrow, Alaska, the northernmost location in the United States. Drew Barrymore and the guy from The Office are going to have to be at the top of their game if they want to save those whales before the pesky Russians do. If you're in the mood for more adult fare, Chronicle, telling the tale of three teenagers who are imbued with fantastic superpowers, also releases the same day. It certainly looks like it'll join Cloverfield as one of the most expensive found footage films ever made, what with abundant special effects and a lot of extras, but we'll see if that means that it's actually good. I have high hopes for it because I still like found footage films despite the damage that The Devil Inside might have done to the genre and my soul. Lastly this week is The Lady in Black, where Daniel Radcliffe decides to live in a haunted house and has to deal with the consequences. From the director of the harrowing Eden Lake, it looks like it should at least be scary if you're in the mood for such things. Insert Harry Potter joke here. In that same vein, the latest film from Ty West, director of House of the Devil, arrives in limited release as The Innkeepers features a pair of hotel employees that, what else, try to figure out why their hotel is haunted. So you can either go high budget or low budget in your search for haunted house thrills this weekend, or both. The Innkeepers is likely still available on video on demand if you'd like to check it out at home as well. Next up on Friday, February 10th is another one of those 4 wide release weekends that causes such joy here at Screened. We'll start with the bottom of the barrel with The Vow, an absolutely insufferable looking romantic drama wherein Rachel McAdams loses her memory and has to fall in love with a handsome lunk all over again, despite not knowing him at all. It took 5 writers to come up with a screenplay for this film, but surprisingly, none of them are Nicholas Sparks. Also this weekend is the first of 6 years worth of 3D re-releases of the Star Wars saga, with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, returning to theaters nationwide. It'll be curious to see if anyone actually shows up for the film, given how poorly its reputation has suffered over the past few years. It'll also be curious to see what kind of crazy changes Lucas has made to the film. We'll find out together, or more accurately, you'll find out and tell me on the message boards because I doubt I will actually go see this. Journey to the Mysterious Island gets a rather generic title as they're no longer really going to the center of the earth anymore, but it does get a significant upgrade in its leading man, with Dwayne Johnson replacing Brendan Fraser. This movie doesn't look all that good, unfortunately, so you'll probably want to save your money and see Safe House instead. Denzel Washington can play the gritty CIA agent role with one hand tied behind his back at this point. So here's hoping he actually makes it seem like he cares. It looks like it should be at least a decent thriller, but this is the first feature film for the writer and the first English language film for the director. So here's hoping we get something more than just another Tony Scott homage. In limited release, we have Undefeated, a high school football documentary that's being put up by the Weinstein Company, of all people, and The Turin Horse, a film by Hungarian director Bela Tar, which aims to sum up the quote-unquote heaviness of human existence by telling the story of the death of a horse in 30 long black and white shots over the course of 2.5 hours. Obviously, you want to make that into a double feature with Journey 2. If none of those films took your fancy, you won't have to wait long for something new to arrive, as the newest film from McG arrives on Valentine's Day, February 14th. Tom Hardy and Chris Pine fight, for some reason, for the affections of Reese Witherspoon in This Means War. From the writers of Just Go With It, X-Men Last Stand, and XXX State of the Union, and the director of Terminator Salvation. If you can stand to wait a few days, Disney will be putting out the latest Studio Ghibli film into wide release, as The Secret World of Arrietty arrives in theaters. While it's not directed by Miyazaki, the film has been getting great reviews before its release and looks absolutely beautiful if the trailers are any indication. Even if it's not a romance, it's almost certainly going to be a better Valentine's date than The Vow. However, nothing will top the romance and sweeping drama that is, of course, Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. Early word on the film is mostly pretty terrible, but until I get a chance to see it for myself, I'm going to hold out all hope that Nicolas Cage and Stringer Bell and the guys who made the Crank films have managed to come together and made something wonderful around the notion of a man who literally pisses fire. We'll find out together on the 17th, though. And in limited release on the 17th, Greg Kinnear, Billy Crudup, and Alan Arkin all have hilarious crime hijinks in the crime drama Thin Ice. The last weekend of the month, February 24th, sees another 4 wide releases hit theaters, with the most publicized probably being Call of Duty the movie, otherwise known as Act of Valor. From a pair of first-time directors and a writer whose only notable credit is a co-screenplay mention on 300, and starring a bunch of actual, real-life Navy SEALs. It'll be interesting to see if this is pure amateur hour, a stirring representation of life how it actually is in the armed forces, or some bizarre mixture of the two. In more Hollywoodish thriller territory, we also have Amanda Seyfried in Gone from one of the writers of Untraceable and Underworld Awakening. Seyfried plays a young woman who escapes from the clutches of a serial killer only to have him kidnap her sister 2 years later. But no one believes her at all. What are the odds that the serial killer is either her boyfriend or a cop working on the case? It's 100%. 100%. If you're still in the mood for romance after Valentine's Day, you have 2 more options coming your way this weekend, with Tyler Perry learning what it takes to perform good deeds and earn what is almost certainly a lot of money in the process. Rounding out the month is Wanderlust, with the always likable Paul Rudd and the tolerable Jennifer Aniston taking time off from their humdrum workaday lives in a hippie commune. This is a David Wayne joint, so we can hope that it's somewhere in the vein of Wet Hot American Summer. At the very least, it's rated R, so if your need for R-rated comedies wasn't sated by the smorgasbord of last summer, you can use this opportunity for a healthy injection of raunch. And that's mostly it for February. It's a short month, but a lot of movies are coming out. As always, my question to you is to name the single film among all these choices that you would choose to see if you could only pick one. Let us know in the comments, and look forward to the reviews of most, if not all, of these films in the coming weeks.
3, 2, 1.
All clear!
Target secure.
Just hang on! Where are we? Sunshine! Oh my god.
What kind of mother would leave her kid in the closet?
Go home and get some sleep.
I'll sleep when he's dead.
Who's after us and why?
I think you need to consider how your safe house was attacked in the first place.
During afternoon tea, there's a shift in the air, a bone-trembling chill.
That's emasculating.
We will do everything we can to help these poor creatures.
I hope one day I can love the way that you love me.
I'm sorry.
That's just some brave thing.